All right, good afternoon once again, everybody. Um, just well, doing very well. So today, apologies for Wednesday's class not being able to hold. I know some of you must have planned according to that, but due to one reason or the other, it couldn't hold on Wednesday. So we're having it today. And so quickly, I'd like someone to share with me what we did in the last class on Monday and what you learned, what he or she learned. Just in the next 1 to 2 minutes, let's quickly handle that. Can you raise your hand if you want to speak and share with me what you learned on Monday's class? Everywhere is so quiet. Okay, Balogun Kende, Balogun Kende and Ken Joshua? I want to hear from both of you. I know you guys usually talk. I want to hear from you. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just drop a message on the chat to begin
We
with.
can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken Joshua. All right, I'm listening to you. Don't unmute your mic back. Oh. I want to be sure that you guys are actually following all these classes and lessons.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. Last class, we talked about the ideate stage. That's the third stage. And then I learned that ideation is a way of saying idea generation. I learned that brainstorming is a very important aspect when it comes to idea generation.
Yeah.
We talked about the importance of teamwork and gradual process in idea generation.
Yeah.
Also,
all right. That's fantastic. Also, there's more. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. You learned a lot, obviously.
we said that we should always aim for quantity over quality when it comes to idea generation.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's all.
All right, you've tried. You've tried. Thank you very much for that, Ken Joshua. So now that you guys understand the ideate stage, for those that haven't watched the class, make sure we have already discussed the ideate stage. We started with the empathy stage, where we discussed about understanding your users, and the define stage, where we learned how to create a problem statement and identify user pain points and user needs. And then on Monday, last class, Ken Joshua just gave us a breakdown of. So today we're going to be looking at information architecture and user flow. So this is also a part of the ideate stage, and it's the bridge between the ideate stage and the prototype stage, which is the very next stage of the ideate stage. Remember, you have empathy, define, ideates, prototype, and test. So this is like a bridge in between the ideate stage and the prototype stage. So in today's class, we're going to be learning about information architecture. We're going to learn what information architecture actually is, user flow, importance of information architecture and user flow, types of user flow diagrams, designing and creating the user flow diagram, and then the role of research in information and user flow. But look, Kendi, I can see your comments on the chat box. Thank you very much for that. Soji, thank you too for that. You guys definitely learned a lot. All right, so moving ahead, information architecture. What is information architecture? So just like the name says, information architecture, it is the architecture of information. Information architecture is the process of organizing, structuring, and labeling content in a way that makes it easy for users to find and understand. Think of information architecture as the blueprint for your website or application or whatever other digital product. So you can see here that information architecture is centered around content. That's the keyword here, content. And then to help you better understand information architecture, you have to understand what content is. And just like the word says, content there's no technical term to it. Content is content. So the content of your bag, for instance, say you're going for a lecture or you're going to work, you carry a bag, and the contents of your bag might be your laptop, might be your books, maybe whatever. Yeah, the things contained inside your bag. So the content of a website or an application are the things contained inside that website or application. So content can come in different forms. Majorly, when you think content, you usually think text. For instance, now the content of this slide, of this particular page, this page 3 of this information architecture and user flow slide or presentation, the content of this page is this text. You have a header text and the body text, information architecture, and this text that talks about information architecture. That's the content of this particular page. So when we say content of a website, it simply means the things inside the website. And majorly, as I said, people usually think text. Yes, text is usually the number one content, but content goes way more than text. You can also have content as image. For instance, in this very first screen, this is an image. It's also a content because it is inside the slide I'm presenting. You can have a video. You can have all manners of different other things. You can have buttons, you can have nav bars, and so many other different things. So when you think content, or when you say content simply is the thing that is inside that which you're talking about. So in this particular case, we're talking about digital product, websites, mobile applications, and the rest. So now that you understand what I mean when I say content, because this is going to be a word that we repeat all the time, because that's what information architecture is centered around. So what I mean when I say content, it simply is the things inside the website, the information. Yeah, you can also say content is information, because all the content in there, they are carrying information. When you come to a website, you're not coming to a website to enjoy how fine the website is, except if it's a gaming website or an entertainment website. When you're coming to a website, you're coming to get information. Say, for instance, I want to learn more about KodeCamp bootcamp. I go to the KodeCamp website, and when I get there, I see I'm going there to find information, and that information is displayed to me in form of content, different types of content. It can be text, a book that explains to me what KodeCamp is all about, and so many other different types of things. So information architecture simply is the process of organizing, structuring, and labeling content in a way that makes it easy for users to find and understand. So there are different ways content can actually be organized for better efficiency based on the project you're working on, and also based on user goal, what the goal of the user is. And that is the whole essence of having information architecture, of structuring and organizing this information, this content. So you want your users to have a very seamless experience with the quickest way to get to their goal. You don't want them to, when they come to your website, you don't want them beating around the bush. You want them to find exactly what they came for as soon as possible. So a very, very effective information architecture is important when it comes to creating a user-friendly website. And when we say user-friendly website, it simply means a website that is friendly to the user, a website that the user likes. For instance, in task 1, good versus bad UI UX design, so many people used Nairaland as their example. Nairaland, yes, it's a great website. It has solid content. People go there a lot, but the design is far from being user-friendly. You don't get information when you want to. Information are not categorized in the way they ought to be, and so many things like that. So by organizing your content in a very logical and intuitive manner, it will help your users to easily navigate through your website and help them find what they are looking for. So this particular reason not only improves the user experience, but it also increases engagement and conversions. So engagement simply is how much of your website are people using? Are they going through other? Are they going through pages of your website to see more information? And conversion simply means is your website generating leads? For instance, a real estate website. The essence of having a real estate website is to sell properties. So a conversion on real estate website simply means people are buying your product, or an e-commerce website. People are buying your product, the things you are selling. So that's the whole. Remember, I spoke on Monday about business goals. You actually want your website to meet user needs and meet business goals. So business goals usually involve conversions, selling a particular product or service. So moving on, we have this is what information architecture looks like. It's not anything elaborate. It's not like the blueprints you see when you're talking about the architecture of a building. It's not as complex as that at all. It's just a diagram, like a tree or a table. This is what it looks like. So this is an example of Spotify information architecture. You can see here that you have different items. You have the home, which of course, when you open your Spotify app, that's the very first thing you see. You have that's the the first screen you see, that's the home screen. From there, you can now navigate and go about to see other screens. You have browse, you have search, you have radio, and you have library. So these are the main items on the Spotify app. So under each of them, you now have different categories. So that's what information architecture does. It simply categorizes all of the content. It's similar, it's pretty much the same thing as a sitemap. So it categorizes all of the content, all of the information in your website in a logical and intuitive manner. Don't worry, I'll get to show you better. Okay, in fact, let me show you one here. So this is a very, very simple form of an information architecture for the KodeCamp LMS. Since you're already familiar with it, I quickly generated something for that so you can understand what I'm showing you. So you know that when you log into your KodeCamp LMS, the very first page you land on is your dashboard, which in this case is also your home page. And then you have, all right, let me open the KodeCamp LMS so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So once I log in, I'm on the dashboard, which is what we have here. So you have other items or other contents on the LMS. You have task and you have user profile. That's what you can see here. You have profile, you have task. Settings, we don't have much other settings now, so I didn't include that. So when you come to profile, you have basic info, name, email, level, and track, which is what you can see here. Name, track, level, and all those things. You can see that the information architecture simply is a breakdown of what you have on the website. So, okay, let me go to task so you can see more things there. Under task, you have task list. So when I go to task, I can see the list. This is the task list. I can see the list of all tasks. And then you also have submit task and view grade. So these are actions. I will explain more about that when we get to user flow. That's more about the user flow. But you've come to see what information architecture looks like. So remember that we haven't gotten to the design or prototype phase yet, the prototype stage. We're still on the ideas. So the whole essence of having an information architecture. All right, let me go to the next slide so you can see what I'm saying. okay, before I start to talk about user flow, the whole essence of having information architecture is so that you can um, structure your content in a logical and sensible manner, in a manner whereby when your users come to your website, they are seeing the information they need when they need it. So we'll get to the importance of information architecture soon, but let me quickly explain to you what user flow is, because soon enough, you'll start to ask questions like, what is the difference between user flow and information architecture? Because they really, really look very similar, but there's a difference. So user flow refers to the path a user takes through a website or application in order to complete a task. It involves mapping out the steps a user will take, as well as the decisions they will make along the way. So simply put, information architecture is just a layout of all information, all content on a website or application or any other digital product. And then user flow involves the path that a user will take to perform a particular action or task on a website. So from this, you can already see that, okay, the information architecture looks more generic. It looks more general. Like the image I just showed you, this is the information architecture. Say, for instance, this is all what we have on the CodeCamp LMS. The information architecture shows you everything that you have. But when it comes to user flow might not show you the um, pathway for all of it. We have different types of user flow. We'll get to that. But user flow mainly is a directional process. It's showing you how to get to point B from point A, or how to get to point C from point A, or from point B. So user flow, from the name, it's the flow, just like a river. A perfect example is river and a lagoon or a lake. For those of you that did geography, you understand the difference. A lagoon or a lake is a stagnant body of water. It doesn't flow. It's just there, sitting in one place. But a river flows from one point to another, usually from a higher topography to a lower. Okay, forget all that grammar. Um, a river flows. It's as simple as that. A river moves from one direction to the other. That's the same thing as a user flow. That's why it's called a flow. The flow of a user on your website. So the user flow shows you how to get to this point from, from that point. But an information architecture shows you the whole structure and organization of the content of your digital products. I hope that is clear. So moving on, um, okay, another thing you should understand um, with user flow is that when you are designing, you as a designer, you can create websites that are very intuitive and easy to navigate. But that is all dependent on the thoughts that you put into creating your user flow, because it's that user flow that would inform the design of your app. So this is all because your users are able to anticipate, or rather you are able to anticipate your users' needs and provide them with the information and tools a particular property. Say you want to buy a property in Ibej, Lekki, for instance, in Lagos, I said they sell real estate. So when you go there, you're expected to see property, pick the one that you want, and go ahead to either schedule a tour of the property or go ahead and buy, depending on you. So imagine Tiben said it's breaking, and if I'm breaking on your side too, or it's just on Tiben's side. Can anybody confirm that?
It's breaking over here too.
Please quickly. Say yes, it's please. Hello, can you guys hear me now? Is it better? Can you hear me? Let me know if it's all right now.
Better.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. If that happens again, just unmute your mic and let me know because I might not see your message on the chat. So if I'm breaking or anything happens that you can't hear me or see my screen, just unmute your mic and let me know. Thank you very much. So where was I? Can somebody please remind me what I was talking about or what you heard me say last?
When
The
you
last
wanted
key
to, we're
thing.
talking about buying the land or something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if you want to buy a property and you go to, say, Landway websites, for instance, you are going there with an expectation to buy a property. Maybe you want to buy a two-bedroom flat. So when you go to their website, what you are expecting, and that is your need as a user, is to see their list of properties, navigate and browse through that list of properties and find the one that suits your need perfectly. Find a two-bedroom apartment that meets all requirements and criteria that you may have. So imagine such a website now. You go there and on the homepage, you don't see a list of websites. Did I say websites? You don't see a list of properties. You don't see anything that is helping you achieve your goal for going to that website. What you're looking for is actually on the website, but it's hidden. You have to maybe go to the footer before you now find, okay, this is the button I click to see a list of all websites. That's not good user flow or information architecture. That's poor planning on the part of the structure of that website. So the primary goal of that website should be very visible, such that when I come to the website, I'm seeing it immediately. Not necessarily at the hero section, but at least on the home page. Not necessarily the very first thing I see, but at least when I scroll down, I should be able to see what I'm looking for. So when you go through real estate property websites, or even pretty much any kind of website that has to do with sales or e-commerce websites, you will see that you're already seeing product. Let me open, for instance, Jumia. Manager of product because they actually want to drive sales. They want to see that which you're looking for as quickly as possible. So to the homepage, this is the homepage. Even though, well, they don't have the best of user experience, but at the very least, they are already showing you different categories of products right there on the homepage. They're already showing different categories of products. So you are not lost. Once you come there, you already know what the website is about and you're already seeing what you're looking for. So that is basically when you structure your user flow right, it's improves the general user experience. Remember that we're still talking about user experience design. Information architecture and user flow help to better the experience of users on your website. Don't forget that. We're still talking about user experience. So moving on, importance of information architecture and user flow. Number one, it enhances usability and user experience, just as I mentioned right now. So both information architecture and user flow, they help to make sure that users can easily find the information that they need and to navigate through your website, through a website or application, whatever digital product, seamlessly with ease. So a very well organized information architecture would help users to understand the structure and hierarchy of content. And then the user flow would guide them through task and whatever interaction they need to do on the website. And it will help to reduce friction and frustration. So just like I explained on the real estate websites, if I'm not seeing what I came for, I'll be frustrated and definitely I will leave the website. And in that way, that particular business or website has lost a potential customer or client. So the next one we have, it encourages exploration. So if you structure your information architecture very well, it would encourage users to explore different sections of a website or application. So when you present your content and um and whatever other thing you have on your website to your users in a manner that's in a well-structured manner, they are more likely to discover even additional information that might interest them. So it will also lead to increased engagement and satisfaction on the part of the user. So if um I come to this particular website, maybe to buy, as I was talking about Dreamy I just opened now. I came to buy what's it called? Maybe I came to buy a pair of sneakers. You would notice that after when you click on a particular sneaker, you would see maybe at the bottom or somewhere recommendations for you or products similar to this. So that is a way of strategically displaying information to users so that because of this one that we can see you're interested in, we're giving you ideas on other things. So it is going to improve me as a user. I'm going to be more satisfied that okay, this website actually knows what I want and it's giving me that which I want when I want it. So another importance here is testing and iteration of existing interfaces. So both IA and user flow provide a what word can I use? A tangible framework for testing and iteration. So by observing user interactions, how users interact with your website, and also by conducting usability tests, I'll speak about that soon. What usability test is. You are able to analyze the behavior of your users and identify areas for improvement. So this mainly applies to existing products. That's why it's saying existing interfaces. So say for instance, WhatsApp is already out there and I as a user, I'm having friction or challenge with using WhatsApp in one way or the other. So the design team would come together, and this is one of the things that they do a lot. Most of these not even top apps, pretty much all apps, they always tend to get user feedback. That is why we spoke to you about user research and how the design process is not linear. You can see now that we're at the third stage and we're still talking about user research. The truth about it is that user research can actually come in at any point of the design process, at any of the stages of the design process, because whatever product you are building, it has to be centered around the user. It has to be user-centric. So at every point, if at all you're looking for insights on how to make the app better, the best place to get those insights are from the users. And how do you get insights from users? By user research. So usability test I mentioned earlier is also a form of user research, which I will explain very soon. So you also use testing and iteration of existing interfaces. You use good IA and user flow. You can also, it's not just for an app that is not yet in existence. Even apps that are in existence, you can always review the information architecture and user flow of the app. And then the fourth point we have here is that it saves time and costs. So the whole idea, which is probably the most important reason here, because you might be wondering, why am I going through all this stress? All I want to do is design an application. Which one is information architecture again? Which one is user flow again? So I explained on Monday about how the design process is a process for a reason. And I remember somebody told me that the essence of one of the reasons for having a process is to make whatever you're doing more effective, to make it faster. So imagine if who can I use for example? Let's say Elijah now, Edith Young Elijah should come to me that he wants to build a website and he has told me all the things he needs for his website. And then immediately I just hop on Figma and start drawing rectangle and buttons and all those things to build the website. Yeah, it's possible that what I design might be very, very fine. It might come out and Edidion will be so impressed. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But on the long run, that particular website will fail or it will not meet user needs because I didn't consult users when building that particular website or application. Imagine you want to build a website, you want to build an application, a mobile app for university students to make complaints about maybe courses they are going through or anything, maybe lecturer harassment and things like that. And then you just go ahead to build that website or mobile application rather based on your own idea. Yeah, you might have a solid understanding of what those people want, but just like we said, quantity over quality during the prioritization of ideas, it also applies here because you are trying to reach out to as many people as possible. So it only makes sense to get feedback from as many people as possible. That is why you are doing research. And that is the whole essence of the user experience design. So information architecture and user flow, they are also a part of the user experience design. I won't just hop onto Figma and start designing the website for Edidion. I have to sit down and analyze, how do I want the structure of this website to be? How do I want to arrange information? What is the logical manner to arrange this information? So there are different tools that help you structure IA and user flow in the right way. I'll show you some of that very soon, but I'm just trying to help you understand the importance, the essence of doing information architecture and user flow before you actually start your prototype stage, before you actually go on Figma and start designing all these things. Same thing for user flow. The reason why you are structuring how to get to point B from point A, or the line that moves from point A to point B, the reason why you are putting it into thought is so that you can make sure that the number of steps it will take for me to get to my goal of coming to your website will be as short as possible. Imagine, say between Twitter and Facebook now, if I want to make a post on Facebook, imagine maybe I have to click like 5 to 6 buttons before I make a post on Facebook. And compared to their competitor, Twitter, I just have to click 2 buttons and then my post is up. Which one has the better user experience? Obviously, it's the one of 2 buttons because I'm able to achieve that which I want to achieve faster and more effectively. So the whole when you're talking about structuring user flows, you have to make sure that you are trying to make the number of actions your user will take to get to their goal as short as possible. Nobody likes to take the long route. If there's a shorter route, of course you take the short route. So that is it for the importance of information architecture and user flow. Next, we have types of user flow diagrams. So to illustrate user flow, you have user flow diagrams, which looks like, okay, I'll show that soon. But the different types of user flow diagrams we have, can you guys confirm that you can hear me clearly? I'd like to know. Everywhere is so quiet. All right, thank you very much, Mbaka. Thank you. So thank you, Samuel, and some praise. So different types of user flow diagrams. We have task flow, wire flow, and user flow. So looking at task flow first, what is task flow? Task flow simply focuses on how users travel through the platform while performing a specific task. Emphasis here on a specific task. Task flow focuses on a task. They generally show only one path and don't include multiple branches or pathways like a traditional user flow might. So this is already a form of contrast between task flow and user flow. Task flow is a type of user flow. Remember that we already said the types of user flow diagrams. You have task flow, wire flow, and user flow. So now we've seen the difference between 1 and 3. One focuses on a particular Number 1 focuses on a particular task, on a particular pathway, while number 3 is a combination of several pathways, or rather is a combination of all of the pathways on that website. So they generally show only one path, that's task flow. They generally show only one path and don't include multiple branches or pathways like a traditional user flow might. These are best used when the task being analyzed is accomplished similarly by all users. So let me show you an example of what a task flow looks like. That word there. So this is what a task flow looks like, still on the LMS. So this authentication is one task flow. Can you guys confirm that you can see my FigJam board? So this is actually FigJam, not Miro. I'm stylishly using this class to introduce you to FigJam. You've learned about Miro. Miro is a whiteboard tool, and FigJam is also a whiteboard tool. I remember in the last class, I showed you how to create a FigJam file. It's different from creating a Figma file. FigJam is still under Figma. FigJam is Figma's whiteboard tool. Figma primarily is a design and prototype tool, but recently, that was I think a year or 2 years ago, they released their own whiteboard tool. So instead of you having to use an external website like Miro or Whimsical and the other ones that are out there, Figma created their own whiteboard tool, which is FigJam, and it's pretty much similar to what you have on Miro. So it works the same way and all of that. I personally prefer to use FigJam so I can have all my work focused in one place. So, and then also it helps for you to easily export from FigJam and import to Figma directly if that's all you need to do such things. So a whiteboard, so in case you're wondering what tool this is. So let me hide all of that. So you can see this is a task flow. We have two different task flows here. One for authentication, that's signing in and signing up. Another one for something works. It shows just one particular pathway, which, yes, Ken Joshua, there are sticky notes on FigJam too. This is the sticky notes. So it works the same way your Miro works. So signing up and logging in, this is a particular task flow. So you can see that it's actually a flow with the use of arrows. That's another difference between user flow and information architecture. You can see that there are no arrows here. It's just a structure. It's not a flow. Some people do put arrows in their information architecture, but to avoid confusion, it's best to just stick with using arrows or arrowed lines with arrowheads. It's best to stick with their use when it comes to user flow to avoid confusion. So this is the task flow for signing up on the LMS. You can see that the first thing you do, of course, is to launch the LMS, which is loading the URL link or one thing or the other. So then you see the sign up, sign in, and then you click. If you want to go through this is actually two task flows in one, actually. So you see the you see the login button, you click on login, you input your email and password. So if it's correct, you can see yes, it goes ahead to the dashboard, it logs you in. But if it's not correct, you get a warning message and you have to input your email and password again. So for the sign up, from the sign in, sign up screen, you click on the sign up button, it takes you to where you input your full name, email, password, select your track, all that whole registration process. You input all those details, and then you verify your email. All this actually happens in the backend. You don't see it, but it happens. So you just press submit, and your email, of course, is going to be verified. And if it's successful, of course, it tells you yes and takes you to the dashboard, or takes you to the login screen. The flows usually differ. But if it's not, you have to go back and verify your email and all the details you put in. But a more straightforward task flow that you're used to is submitting your task. From the dashboard, you click on task, and then you select the particular task, and you input your submission link, and then you click submit. It's straightforward. Like Rachel says, the arrows create a flow of actions. So from dashboard to task screen to selecting task to inputting submission and submission link, and into clicking submit. So that is what a task flow looks like. That is what it does. It usually involves just one pathway. So just as you can see here, entry, action, and success. So moving on, we have next wire flow. So wire flow is pretty much similar to the user flow. Wire flows are a combination of wireframes and flowcharts. they utilize the layouts of individual screens as elements within the diagram. So you can see a new word here. We have wireframes. We're still going to teach you about wireframes, but a quick introduction is that wireframes on their own, they help to convey the layouts and design of a web page or whatever it is. Let me just use websites as illustrations for the sake of this class. So wireframes help to illustrate, they help to convey the layouts, emphasis on layouts of each individual page of a website, but they don't have the ability to communicate the page-to-page flow, meaning that if I have 3 wireframes on their own, I cannot tell the progression, how to get to this flow from that flow. So that is what wireflow does. Wireflow simply is you carrying your wireframes and then putting lines. This homepage, or rather, dashboard leads to task page, and task page leads to submission, and whatever the case may be. It's simply you replacing all of these boxes and or with actual wireframes. But when you learn about wireframes, you get to understand that more. But majority of the time, we don't make use of wireflows. It's mainly task flows and user flows that you get to make use of mostly. So user flows focus on the way your target audience will interact with the product. They emphasize that all users might not perform tasks the same and may travel in different paths. So user flow, as I said, it shows the whole pathway, how to get to any point, how to get to any screen of your mobile application from any parts of the app. So it will be like a network of webs and all of that will show you the different pathways in an application or website or whatever digital product. So let me show you what a user flow looks like. So this is the user flow of a peer-to-peer payment application. The very first thing you have, okay, it is a flow. Remember, it is a flow. So you have to start from somewhere, your entry point. I'll talk more about that, but you have to start from somewhere. So the starting point is you launching the app. Once you launch the app, you see the splash screen. What is the splash screen? The splash screen is that screen you see once you launch an app. For instance, when you first open Twitter, the first thing you see is the X logo before your homepage loads. Or when you first open WhatsApp, the first thing you see is the WhatsApp logo before your chat list loads. Or one thing or the other, that's what the splash screen basically is. You only see that screen when you're opening the app for the first time. If you minimize the app and open it again, you won't see it. You have to close the app, or it's when you restart your phone. When you're opening the app for a new session, that is when you see the splash screen majorly. Websites also have, some websites do have splash screens too, splash screens in quotes. So after the splash screen, the first thing you see is the onboarding. From the onboarding, you can see that you have sign up and sign in. If you're a new user, you go ahead to sign up. If you are not a new user, you go ahead to sign in because you already have an account. So you go ahead to sign in. So once I sign in, the next thing I see is the home screen. So from the home screen, I can perform 3 actions. I can receive money. This is a peer-to-peer app, so let's not focus on that flow. I can send money, and I can split a bill. So the primary action here is sending money, just like your bank application to send money. So this is now the flow that you have between send money and, let me see if I can copy this out. So if I bring this guy out here, this one, let me delete this. This is a task flow on its own. I can name this sending money task flow or send money task flow. It entails clicking the send money button. Then I see the payment screen. Then I enter the transaction details. I put in the recipient's account number or whatever, and put in my password or any other thing, and then click the confirm button, yes or no. So this is the task flow, as you can see. and it's embedded in a user flow. This one here too is also a different, this is the splittable task flow. This is the splittable task flow. This is the receive money task flow. So you can see that and this is the login. Here is the sign up task flow. Here is the sign in task flow. So here we have 5 different task flows, and they all come together to form the user flow. Is that clear? Do you guys understand everything I've been saying so far? Please drop a message on the chat. And if you don't understand anything, just raise your hand. All right, then. Thank you. Seems everyone understands. So back to our slide. We now know the difference between task flow, wire flow, and user flow. Moving on, how to, someone said to draw user flow simpler work. Actually, it's a little bit of work, but once you understand this particular page, what I'm talking about here, how to design the user flow diagram, it makes it very, very easy. Because when you actually go online and view user flow diagrams, you will see all manners of shapes, all manners of things, and all. But showing you the ideal way to go about it. So user flow diagrams employ various shapes, each holding distinct significance to illustrate the sequence of steps and interactions in a user's journey. To help you understand better, user flow diagrams, they often include a legend that
breaking.
So can I hear you?
Hello, can you guys confirm that you can hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very sorry about that. Network is fluctuating. So, what did you hear me say last? Hello, what did you hear me say last? Anybody?
You say user flow has legend.
We were talking about the shapes and what they do. And how
Wait, you said I was talking about what?
you were talking about the shape
Legend.
and the various what they do, how that each shape has what it
Okay.
does.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, how to design user flows? Oh yeah. I was trying to go back to make a point. So remember that when you are going, when you are designing an application, most of the time, I already explained it to you how you work in a team. You have product managers, you have content writers, you have developers, you have all manners of other um, tech gurus working with you. So the whole design process, we keep emphasizing on the fact that it's an iterative process, meaning that it's open to feedback. We keep on testing and going back to make improvements. For instance, the LMS, you can all testify that the way the LMS is now is not the way it was when we started using it. People made complaints and said, and improvements were made on the LMS. So we keep on making improvements on our websites and our apps every time. So the whole essence, another reason for having this user flow diagram is for the sake of collaboration. So when you have your user flow diagram, it's not just for you, actually. This user flow and information architecture you are drawing, you are using it to structure the content of your website, yes. But you are not just doing it and leaving it on FigJam or Miro. You are actually sharing it with whatever stakeholders are involved in that project so that they can see they can see your idea and give you feedback. That talks about the point I made about how it saves time and cost. Because if I should just, and the client comes back to say time is wasted, the time I spent designing and the effort is wasted. And of course, that's going to be very painful. So, and then imagine if it's like a team that is actually doing that job for a client. We've gone ahead to design, to make the designs. We finished with the design and we've handed the design over to the developers to develop. Of course, you know that designing usually takes less time than developing, because developing has to do with writing code and programming. And now imagine that they finished developing the design, the project, the product you are building is been fully developed and functional. And then after developing is now when you are showing it to your client. And then the client says, no, this is not what I asked you to do. Or no, I don't like the user flow. I don't like the way the app is structured. You'll be very pained. That'll be weeks and probably months worth of work wasted. So the whole essence of having these things at the early stage is to save time, is to save costs. So when you when you draw your user flow diagram, you are sharing it with your clients, with every stakeholder involved. They give you feedback. For instance, the user flow of this particular LMS, this is not how it was initially. Say this submitting task, it wasn't like this initially. Before the design of this particular flow, before the design of the LMS, of course you have to first do your user flow. You have to do user flow before you start designing. So the user flow was different from this. It wasn't this straightforward. It was probably longer than this. And then from feedback and all, it was improved upon, and we found a way to make it more streamlined. So imagine if we didn't go through all that collaborative process and iterative process to make the user flow better, and we had already designed the LMS. And then after the design is now when we're reviewing and saying, no, we can make it better. It's going to take longer time. It will take you more time to start making all those changes on Figma as compared to making those changes here on your task flow diagram, where all you have to do is draw a rectangle on FigJam and write the text. So this particular box, this task is a page on its own. This dashboard is a page on its own. The user flow diagram is just very crude. It makes it presents users. It helps you save time. So you don't have to first create the whole design before you start structuring the flow of your application. So that is the point I'm trying to make here, trying to help you understand the importance of these things and how to actually go ahead and design them. So user flow diagrams employ various shapes, each holding distinct significance to illustrate the sequence of steps and interactions in a user's journey. So all the shapes, there are reasons we don't just use shapes anywhere, anyhow. This, you can see from this image that majorly you have what would we call this? A capsule, oval, or a pill. Okay, an oval is used to indicate the start of a process or the end of a process. You can use an oval or a circle. So you'll find some articles that will say use a circle. And then a rectangle is used for a process or screen, a process or a screen. And then an arrow indicates sequence, meaning any direction, shows you where you are from. It's like a tilted square, but it's actually a diamond. It shows you decision. What mainly in a diamond, you have it's like an intersecting point. It's a point where the decision can split, where the flow can split into two. I'll show you that in the FigJam board soon. And then we have input/output, which we use a parallelogram for. Input here mainly is like you are inputting information. Maybe you are filling a form or something like that. So let me show you all these things I just mentioned here. You can see from this simple task flow. And I mentioned about having a legend. Yeah, I also mentioned about having a legend because since you're collaborating with other people, you want them to quickly, you will not automatically assume that developers know all the shapes of a user flow. You cannot just automatically assume that. So you add a legend. Even if they do, different companies, different design systems, or whatever the case may be, might choose to have specific shapes to illustrate specific things. So have a habit of including a legend in your user flow. Not information architecture, but your information architecture just have one. It has just one shape, but user flow has different shapes. So you can see that a circle is here is used to show the start or end of a flow. And then rectangle is used to display. It means display, like a screen. Action. Here, the screen, the slide doesn't have that action shape, but we added it to show the difference between display and action. Display is just for the context of this particular task flow or user flow. Not everybody might have this. It's just that's why I said it's important to have a legend. So display shows a screen, and the rectangle shows a screen or display, and then in this case the oval or the rectangle with an increased border radius shows an action, while parallelogram shows input and diamond shows decision. So this is everything in use. This is dashboard. The dashboard is a screen. This is my dashboard. It is a screen. Task is also a screen. I can choose to represent it as an action because I have to click on it, but that's all up to you. And then select task, it's more specific. That's the particular reason why this is different from this. Select task here is this action, selecting empathy map task. Is clicking on any task, that's the select task. So to differentiate between the task page and the action of selecting a task, that is the reason for adding this additional shape and for using for distinguishing it from this particular screen. It's all just to avoid confusion, because you have to remember that you're not the one using your user flow diagram. Other people are going to be looking at it too. So right after selecting task, let me select this. Next thing I have is inputs, pasting the link, which is represented here. Remember I said parallelogram is used for input or output. And then after that, submit. Submit is clicking on the submit button. Let's say I've inputted the link and then I click submit. So clicking submit is an action. That is why it is it has the same shape, this action shape. So this other user flow we have here, let me use. And then
So
the
we can't hear
calculation
you.
of the arrow. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you.
All right, I'm very sorry about that. Can you tell me the last thing you heard me say? Can you tell me the last thing you heard? Hello? Hello, can anybody hear me?
Said you said parallelogram are used to show input,
I can't hear you
while
clearly, Tiben.
you said the parallelogram shape is used to show input option. Did you get that?
All right then, thank you for that. Parallelogram. Okay, that's here. Okay, I've gone far, but all right, let me come back there. So, can you guys hear me clearly, please? I want you to confirm on the
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
chat that you can all hear me clearly. Hello. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much. So I was talking about the different shapes and showing them in use. And as Stephen said, the last thing that he heard is used to show inputs. So in this particular task flow, after selecting task, okay, let me go back there. So this is the action, and then I input the link. So the input of this link is what we have here. That is why a parallelogram is used to showcase. I click on the submit button, which is an action. So clicking on the submit button is this particular. That is why it has the shape of the action shape. It has the action shape rather from the legend. I hope that is clear. If that's clear, please drop a message on the chat. Eddie Young, please drop a message telling me what is not clear. Once I see your message, I'll come back to explain. So I've shown you the use of all these shapes except for the shape for the decision shape. So using this login flow, you can the LMS rather, and then logging in. Login actually the login has the rectangle shape to show you that it's a screen or display. And then after that, input email / password, which is inputting. And take note of the arrows. Look at the direction of the arrows. There's no arrow here, but there's an arrow here to show you that it is coming from here to here. If this particular line was like this instead, it will show you that the action is from this place to this place, but that's not possible for this flow. So let me undo that by pressing Ctrl Z, and then you can see the direction of the arrow is from login to input email. The arrow is also a shape, don't forget that. So it's showing you where I'm starting from. Starting from here, I'm moving to here. So right after inputting email, the next is they usually split into two, like an alternate pathway, almost like an alternate universe in the multiverse, so to say. But leave all that one aside. It's in this particular context, it's usually two. It's usually a decision of yes or no. And for the sake of logging in here, you can see that you have the question here is, are the details correct? If the details are correct, you have yes, and it takes you straight to the dashboard. That's to log in. If I put in the right email or password, it takes me straight to the dashboard. But if it is no, then I start again by inputting my email. I go back to this stage. I have to input my email and password again. I'm sure that you are familiar with these actions when logging in to any platform at all. If your credentials are, if the login credentials are wrong, you have to input them again. There's no way any system would log you in with wrong credentials. So this is how all of these actions, all of these flows, all of these pathways are illustrated using the user flow diagram. So that is how to make use of the shapes of the user flow diagrams. So moving on, we have creating an information architecture, best practices in creating an information architecture. So when creating an information architecture, it's important to keep in mind that the goal is to make it easy for users to find what they're looking for. So the very first practice here is to organize content into categories and subcategories that are intuitive and logical. I've emphasized on this. I've been talking about this since the start of the class. for the sake of information architecture, organize content in a logical and intuitive manner. Logical here meaning a manner that makes sense, and intuitive meaning in a manner that is contextual to the user. Let it be fitting for the particular user. So there are different types of users. Your users would vary based on your product, based on your website. So that's the essence of doing user research. Remember, one of the deliverables from your research is a user persona. That user persona will help you understand the coders that you have. Can you guys still hear me? Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, then. Thank you very much. So your user persona will help you understand the kind of users that are going to be using your organizing the content to suit those particular type of users. Take, for example, if you are designing a clothing website, you would most likely want to organize your items by gender, by type of clothing, and all those kind of things, by age, so that it is easy for all cadres of users to find what they are looking for easily. You might want to have a section. When you go on maybe ASOS website, for instance, you will see that they have categories. Some of them have filter options whereby you can filter by gender, filter by type of clothing, maybe t-shirts or shoes or different types of things. So take note of organizing your content into categories and subcategories. For a blog, for instance, a sports blog, for instance, they will logically categorize their content into different sports. You might have a section for football or a page for football, another one for baseball, basketball, and all of that. So you have to make sure you organize content in an intuitive and logical manner. Next, make sure that you use clear and concise labels for navigation links and buttons. You don't want to make your links complex. There's a UX principle that talks about not making your users think, or rather a heuristics principle. We'll get to that later on about when it comes to design, usability heuristics and all. But there's a heuristics principle that talks about, it simply means like practices for good. When I'm talking about heuristics principle, I'm talking about practices for good user experience design. And one of it talks about not making your users think. Yes, you don't want to exercise your user's brain, because you want them to understand immediately when they see any element on your website. And that includes buttons and navigation links. Navigation links here mainly deal with maybe the links in your footer or the links in your header, and then buttons. That is where UX writing comes in, or content writing for user experience. Make sure that you're using words that are not complex and very easy to understand. And that's what the third point is talking about. Avoid using jargon or technical terms that may confuse users, not just on your navigation links and buttons, but also across the website. To structure information, make sure, for instance, if I want to have a section on my e-commerce website that users can go to see products, to see electronic products, it just makes sense for me to write electrical devices, and not come up with one technical, very, very big word that people will find hard to understand. So use simple and plain language when it comes to structuring your information architecture. So right after that, best practices or tips and tricks for designing user flows. The previous slide spoke about for information architecture, and then this is talking about tips and tricks for user flows. So when designing user flows, it's important to keep in mind the user's goals and behaviors. So number one, keep it simple and avoid multi-directional directions. So what this means is that you don't want your user flow to be too entangled that it will now look like a cobweb. There are cases where, especially for very huge and elaborate websites, you might have so many screens and all, and it might look very complex. In such cases, it's better to just break them down, break your user flows into different categories or into smaller task flows. You don't want to have a very big user flow that is showing like over 100 pages and over 100 screens. Nobody is going to look at all of it. Plus, it's going to be very see that this is the user flow. It's straightforward. There are some items looking at this particular user flow here, you will notice that there are some things here, there are some things rather on the elements that are not here. So things that are not important and
We can't hear you again.
next, to use a step-by-step approach, breaking. You don't want to bombard your users with it's breaking. Hello, is it still breaking now? TBN, Joshua, please, can you confirm for me quickly?
It's still breaking, but we can hear you now.
We just said a little. How about now? Is it better now?
It's better.
All right then. Thank you. So I was talking about keeping it simple and avoid multi-directional. No, I was talking about using a step-by-step approach. Can you guys still hear me? Please confirm that you can hear me.
Can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, yes,
So
sir.
you don't want to bombard your what's it called? Okay, sorry about that. So I was saying you don't want to bombard your what's it called? Your users with excess information. You have to present, take for instance, in some specific sign-up flows, you would notice that the sign-up process is divided into 3 different or 4 different steps. The very first step might be basic information. The next step might be employment information, depending on the kind of platform you're signing up to. And then the third step might be, okay, let me use a more practical example. If I want to apply for a job, I go to a website and I want to apply for a job. You will notice that some of the UIs would create, some of the screens will have a UI that has that would display the different steps 1, 2, 3. So the very first page would have I might have to input my basic information, my name, address, and all those things. Then the next page might be to input my employment history and all of that, my experience and everything. And then the third step might be my educational history and things like that. So that's actually a great user flow. It breaks task into steps. You are not bombarding your user with too many things to do. Because when you have one page that has so many forms and input fields, when applying for a job, you would even get discouraged. You're like, and so it's great for you to. But imagine if, for instance, you've filled all the forms in the first page, you filled the forms in the second page, and on the third page, you now see that this is where they're now asking me for employment history. At that point, you won't want pages. Some specific websites usually have reasons why they are still asking for your employment history, even after collecting your resume. But the point is just that it's easier for you to break down tasks and all into steps. Next tip for designing user flows is a clear entry point.
make sure that the entry point is clear. That is in the user flow diagram. I already showed you the shape to make use of to indicate the start or end point. It's usually a capsule or an oval or a circle. Also, don't forget that you also have to have a legend to show your use of shapes. So have a clear entry point and then use colors wisely. Using colors wisely, because you can your colors also, you can also use your colors to depict. Notice that these two task flows here, the beginning or this particular user flow here, you notice that the yes circle is green and then the no is red for obvious reasons. And okay, I think that's all for the illustration I have here. So make sure you use colors in a logical way. Here, the reason for using this part, you would notice that said the entry point, that should be the shape. But for this particular dashboard, there are still other things. The endpoint should be circular. But in this case, the what's it called? The entry points and endpoints are both colored. Can you guys still hear me? Someone says off it goes again. Anyway, I need someone to please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, can hear you.
All right then. Thank you for that. Sorry for the delay. Trying to sort out my network issues. So I was talking about using colors wisely. So let's move on. So when it comes to, I was talking earlier about user experience and how user research rather, pardon me, how user research plays a very, very important role in every stage of the design process. So user flows are only as good as the insights you've managed to gather, meaning insights you've gathered from your user research, either your survey, online survey, or physical interview, whatever the case may be. Creating, giving definitive answers to these questions. Number one, what do our users need? Excuse me. What features are the most relevant to them? What problems are users looking to solve? And then what do users need to know to make the purchasing decisions? So asking these questions will help you understand the major goal of your whatever product it is, and would inform the your creation of your user flow. It will make the whole thing user-centered. It will make sure that you are structuring your user flow in order to your users. So looking for answers to these 4 questions is easier said than done. Just compiling your assumptions is not remotely good enough. What you should do actually is to do user research. User research, again, we keep on saying it. So let's go ahead and see how to actually include user research in the information architecture and user flow creation. So we have 3 major ways to do this. You can either use surveys and questionnaires, user interviews, or usability testing. So surveys and questionnaires, you already learned about that when discussing user research. You already learned surveys and questionnaires. You're just, which is what you are already doing in your, is that task 2? Yeah, creating surveys and sharing these surveys as questionnaires to your interview or research participants. And then user interviews. It could be online, it could be in person, whatever the case may be. It can be by video meeting and all. And then usability testing. So this particular method entails having your users interact with your products while you are observing them directly. So from here, there are different types of usability testing, but for the sake of information architecture and user flow, we're going to be looking at A and B testing and CAD sorting. So to recap a little on this slide, I think I'm going a little bit too fast. User research in information architecture and user flow creation. So to inform your user flow and information and IA, man, that word is so long. IA, I'll start using that now. So when I say IA, just know what I'm referring to. For IA and user flow, you can do research to inform it, because remember I told you that everything you are doing, especially in the design of the user experience, your users have to be at the center of it all. So getting insights from your user is actually done by conducting user research. And these are the user research methods that you use to do that: surveys and questionnaires. So we already know about surveys and questionnaires, so I won't waste time on that. And in interviews, asking them the relevant questions, and usability testing, A and B testing, and CAD sorting. So let me quickly explain what these two are. A and B testing usually is you are testing two different ideas. You are trying to understand, you're trying to ask your users, do you prefer A or do you prefer B? So usually it would entail that you already have some form of the design ready. Usually it's the wireframe, mainly wireframe, but sometimes it comes in and be testing. So what you're just doing is you're just asking, you are saving yourself from all the stress of assumptions, and you're asking your user. For instance, in the sake of user flow, you can create the user flow diagram, two different user flow diagrams to achieve a particular task, and show your user, do you prefer it this way or do you prefer it this way? That's simply what A and B testing is. So you can use A and B testing, which is also a usability test, to get insights on how to structure your information architecture and user flow diagram. And then we also have CAD sorting. What CAD sorting entails is you are sorting different cards. So the way you actually conduct card sorting, you might want to write out, let me say, for instance, I'm trying to create an e-commerce website. I keep on using e-commerce because e-commerce is a website that has so many different and broad content, and it's a very great example when talking about information architecture because of the variety and broadness. So if I want to create information architecture for, or user flow for a what's it called, e-commerce websites, the way I'm going to carry out card sorting, I would take different pieces of card. You can do it physically. You can do it using your whiteboard too by using stickers. So I'll take different stickers and write different items, and those items are the content of my website. For instance, if my e-commerce website is focused on children materials, for me to understand how users perceive the organization of such items, of the content, I would go ahead and write all of the content on those sticker notes. For instance, I would write shoes, t-shirts, different other things. You guys should drop on the chat and let me know things that you see on such a website, on an e-commerce website for children below the age of, say, 13. Drop it there so I can get ideas from you. So I already said t-shirts, you have shoes, you have face cap, you have strollers, you have toys, toy gadgets, thank you, bags, and so many different other things. So I would write everything. I would try as much as possible to make my list as comprehensive as possible to contain all of the items that are going to be on that website. And then I would now take it, all those stickers, let's say we have 50 stickers, all of different random items, all contained or all found in that children's e-commerce website. I will take all those 50 stickers that have written all these toy gadgets, children tablets, bags, clothing, accessories, and all. I will give it to my participants. So as I said, you can do it remotely using your whiteboard tool or physically. So I give it to them and ask them to sort these cards based on how they think they should be sorted. That's why it's called card sorting. So I'm asking them to sort these cards. So the users themselves will be the ones to now take, okay, cards that they see that they have things in common. If I were the one that were doing this card, if I were the participants, for instance, I will see items like sneakers, sandal, what other slippers. I would see if I see those. Then I'll go ahead and I see t-shirts, trouser, hoodie, and all of that. I see those stickers, I categorize them and put them in another corner. And then I go ahead to see toys, different types of toys, toys that make rattle sounds, electronic toys, and all those different things. I put them in another corner. So I'm sorting those cards based on how I think they are related to each other. That is what card sorting is. So your participants, the participants of your test are the ones that are going to do these things. So when they are done sorting them, maybe from those 50 cards, you have 5 different groups, meaning that each group has 10 cards. Of course, these numbers are just arbitrary. It would vary depending on your users, on the participants of that test. So say we have 5 different groups. I was able to sort those cards, or your participant was able to sort those cards into 5 different groups. You now go ahead and ask them to label each group based on you ask them why did they group them like this, and ask them to label those groups. So the group that I as a participant puts things like slippers, sneakers, and all those things, I will name it footwear or shoes. The other one, I will name it toys. Another one, I will name it clothes and all of that. So it is pretty much like you asking your card sorting is just like you asking your users, which in this case are the participants of the test, to do your information architecture for you, which is actually one of the best ways to conduct user research, because now you know that your information architecture is structured. So the way your users categorized and labeled all those items, that is the way that you're going to use it to draft your information architecture. So that is one of the roles that user research plays in the structuring of your user flow and IA. Is that clear? Let me know if what I just explained now is clear. If you don't understand, just raise your hand or drop a message on the chat box. Okay, if I'm saying yes, did you understand? Okay, so no hand is raised. All right, it seems everybody understands. So let me go ahead.
Someone asked that you should repeat.
Someone asked that I should repeat what? Hello, I can't hear whoever spoke just now. Okay, so please repeat the last slide. you mean this slide? Okay.
Hello, please, can you confirm that you can hear me clearly? Okay, it's like it's only stupid. Okay, all right then, thank you. So this particular slide talking about card sorting and usability testing. The whole essence is you are trying to inform your user flow diagram and your IA to be in line with what your user actually wants. And making sure that what you are doing, remember that your user flow and information architecture, they are going to inform the structure of your website when you start designing them. Because as you are designing them, as you are designing each page, you are making reference, taking reference from your diagram, your user flow diagram. If your user flow diagram says after homepage should be about, or homepage should lead to about us page, and about us page should have all of this under, you are following what you have there. So you're not just the diagram is not just sitting there, it's actually informing your design, it's informing the flow of completion of tasks of your website or application or whatever the case may be. So that is why you're taking so much time to make sure that your information architecture is structured in the right way, in the way in which is pleasant to users in an intuitive way. So to make sure that your user flow is actually informed by your user needs and pain points, you conduct user research. Ideally, you conduct user research. So many companies usually don't have time for this, but it's because of reasons like this that you get to find out that users are not satisfied with the particular website or mobile app or whatever. So taking these extra steps would help you make sure that your design is centered around your user. So I explained about A and B testing, which is simply you showing your user a do you like A or do you like B or do you like C? It doesn't have to be two, it can be three or different user flows or different information architecture. You can use it for, you can even use A/B testing for your wireframes, anything at all. So you're just showing them, do you like this or do you like that? So for the sake of this class, you're showing them, do you like this particular user flow? Which user flow do you as a user find easy or easier? Which one do you prefer? Because you want to actually know what they prefer so that when you release this app, they're actually going to make use of it. Because if you give them what they don't want, of course, they're not going to use it. Remember that class where Favor made a quote about users neglect designs that neglect users or something like that. Remember. So if your design is not meeting their need, they're going to leave you alone. So that is it for A and B testing. You're just saying this or that. Which do you prefer? You're showing them two different designs or two different information architecture diagrams or user flow diagrams. And then for card sorting, you are listing out all of the content of your website, listing everything out in not a logical manner. You're listing them out and making them as comprehensive as possible in the crude form. Listing everything out, just like I explained earlier about the children, everything else on a paper. You make sure that one item on a sticker, on one sticker notes. You know what? It's just going to take time, but let me try as much as possible to be fast about it and do something like that on our on FigJam. So Earlier somebody said something about, okay, let's say sandal. Another one can be sneaker. And then another one can be shoe. So these are items that I know that. So you list out everything and make them as comprehensive. So of course it's going to be way more than this, but to save time, let's just work with this. So when conducting your we're talking about card sorting now. You give all these stickers, you arrange them randomly and present them to your participants, which is your potential user, and then ask them to arrange these cards in the manner that makes sense most to them. So, Egbe Chukwudi, I want you to unmute your mic. Let's do this together.
Okay, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have all of these cards. So what I want you to do is we'll pick them one by one and you show me how you think these things can be classified, how you think they should be arranged based on similarity. So toy car, let's start here, put toy car here. Out of all of these other things, is there anyone that you think can stay beside toy car? We have shoe, we have sandal, sneaker, and all of that. Is there anyone you think can stay? Let me add some more. It's too small. Let me see.
Teddy bear.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
So I think these ones are more than enough. So you can see what we have here. Chugudi, are you still with me?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear you clearly. Can you speak up?
Yes, I'm still with you, sir.
So we have toy car here by one corner. Out of all these other items here, what else can we add beside toy car that they look like, okay, they are similar?
I'll go with teddy bear.
Teddy bear. Okay. Any other thing? You guys can also drop comments on the chats. Okay, Miss Emeralda said Lego. All right. Any other thing? Anybody? Okay. So let's move on to shoe. I'll put this up here. Is there any other thing that we can add to this that they look similar or sound similar to each other?
Sneaker.
Chukudi, I'm listening to you. Sneaker.
Yeah, sneaker.
Okay. Someone said sandals. Okay. Any other thing? So let's put t-shirts at the bottom here. Is there any other thing similar to t-shirts that we can add beside it?
Yes, trouser and sweater.
Trouser and sweater. Okay, thank you. And then let's put from back to A here, which is a cream, a medicinal cream. What else can we put besides from back to A?
Paracetamol.
Paracetamol. All right. So starting with this last two that we just put here, Why do you think paracetamol should be beside Fombat A? Huh?
Okay, pharmacist
Shukudi,
stuff like this. They are both
I didn't hear you.
medication.
Pharmacists, okay. They are both medication. Thank you. So let's label that medication. How about shoes, sneakers, and all?
Outfit.
Let's say footwear. They are all footwear. And then toy car, teddy bear, Lego. What can we call all of them? All of that? Or why did you put them together?
Playground.
Toys. Somebody said toys. I like that better. Toys. So then we have t-shirts, trouser, sweater. What can we call that? Clothing. Someone said clothing. So this is just card sorting that we just carried out here. Of course, it will be we will have way more stickers than this, depending on the content of the website. But just for the sake of illustration, this is how it's done. So you're going to your participant is going to, which is your potential user, is going to be the one to arrange all these things based on how they think they should be, how it makes sense to them. This thing is completely what's it called? Subjective. Somebody else might come and put these three guys here together with shoe and sandal because they feel like, okay, all these things are going to be worn by the human body. It's fine. There's no wrong, there's no right, because that's what he feels. If he goes to the website and he's looking for, and of course, the name of this will now change to maybe, let's say, wears or children wears. So if he goes to this website, he'll be expecting to find trouser and sandal in the same category. It is very much fine. That is his expectation. That is going to be his experience on the website. So it's very much fine. It is subjective. But the whole essence of the card sorting is to go with the majority because you want to try as much as possible to satisfy majority of your users. Not everybody. If you have 100 people participating in this card sorting session, it's not all 100 that will categorize all of this based on how we did it. Some people might not even put Format A anyway because they don't know what Format A is. Some people might not put Lego anyway because they don't know what Lego is. So now imagine we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stickers here. Imagine you now have over 100 stickers. Imagine you have 500 stickers. Of course, there's no way two people are going to place all 100 stickers, all 500 stickers exactly the same way. So the whole essence is to go with the majority because you know that, okay, this is how majority of my users think. This is how they feel. So of course, you now start to think that how how am I supposed to analyze all of these results if I have over 500 stickers and all? Will I start counting them one by one? No, there are so many usability tools and card sorting tools out there that help you analyze these things. But we'll focus more on that when we get to the testing stage. Talk about usability testing more. But for now, I'm just explaining to you one of the tools that you can use to inform the design and structuring of your user flow and information architecture. Actually, mainly information architecture. Card sorting is mainly used for information architecture because once your information architecture is structured, your user flow would come out from your information architecture. So information architecture actually comes first before user flow. So that's pretty much it. Is it clear now, Chikudi, and any other person that wasn't that didn't understand the first time? All right, thank you for that, Chikudi. So that comes to the end of today's class. I was hoping it wouldn't be as long as this, but yourself question at all, you can raise your hand. Okay, Tiben, please go ahead.
So I wanted to ask about the shapes that you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Okay, about the shapes
Yeah, I
that
can hear you.
you said they describe, they represent the legend for user flow. So I want to know whether it's universal. Like, does it represent each? Is it everywhere? That do they stand for? Are they? How will I put this? Are they universal?
These shapes are universal.
Hello.
At least these ones in test. Can you hear me, Tiben?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I say yes. The answer to the question is simply yes. These ones in test. Universal. Yes. These are just the basics. These are the ones that you need to know. Now, yes, these ones are universal. In the case of this very first one, process starts on end, and I mentioned that it can be a circle. See some when you do your research, you see some articles that talk about using step. So I don't see. So is that fine, Tiben?
I didn't quite hear you clearly. It was somehow faded.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
So I say that the simple answer to your question is yes, they are universal. There are some other more technical shapes than this used to illustrate some other things, but these are the basics. These are the ones that you need to know for now. The exception is just the very first shape, the process start or end. And I mentioned it to you that it could either be an oval or a circle, like we used here. So you will read and find some articles that talk about using the circle. Don't be confused. The process start or end you can either use an oval or a circle. But every other one that you see here, yes, they are pretty much standard everywhere. Is that fine, Tiben? Did you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I did. Thank
Can
you.
anybody hear me? Please confirm. Okay. Can anybody hear me? All right. Thank you very much. So, questions. So we can call it a day. Any other question? Any feedback at all? Please go ahead. All right then. In the absence of none, coming and staying till now, you can see that the classes are starting to elongate because we are getting deeper and deeper. Soon enough, we are going to go full on into Figma, and it's going to get very exciting. So just prepare yourselves. Make sure that you've done your tasks, and those of you who have not been graded, you will be graded today by the special grace of God. Amen to that. All right, thank you so much, guys. The slide is going to be shared soon enough, and Favor hasn't been feeling too well. For those that are still asking, so you guys should please pray for her. I wish her a speedy recovery. I drop your messages on the group. She's going to see them. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.